Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. My colleague Lauren Kanalkin is going to continue to admit people into the room as they get their Zoom link set up. But we're thrilled to have all of you here today as we have a special WashU event for St. Louis Startup Week. My name is Kristen Otto, and I work at WashU's office at 4240 Duncan in the Cortex Innovation community here in St. Louis. St. Louis Startup Week is a great time to celebrate and educate, and we're thrilled to introduce you to 3 WashU startups today. I think you're going to get a lot out of their talks today. They're going to each do about a 10-minute presentation about their startups and the way that they help impact the St. Louis region. The WashU office at 4240 is the Office of Technology Management, and I know that that sounds like a mouthful, but essentially our office manages the process of how WashU inventions leave the university and become products to impact the world. So we manage invention disclosures, patents, intellectual property, marketing, finance, materials transfer, startup accelerators, licensing negotiations, and even product development. And I'm sure that I left something out because our team is very robust. Our host for today's event for the WashU Startup Showcase is WashU's new Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Chief Commercialization Officer, Dr. Dedrick Carter. Dedrick, you can take it away and introduce us to today's special event and our speakers. Thank you for being here.
So first, thank you very much, Kristen. It's a pleasure to be here. The tech transfer team is an important part of my group in innovation and transfer and commercialization. You know, the first startup week that I ever attended was in about 8 years ago in Tel Aviv in Israel, and we'd gone to sort of see the innovation nation, and came out of the hotel and was just amazed at the companies you saw, tech and non-tech, the energy in the environment. It was really something to see. And I came back to St. Louis saying, we got to do something like that here. And here, 8 years later, the efforts of lots of other people, it's really a pleasure to be a part of the third St. Louis Startup Week. The first was in person, the second virtual, and now we have something that's a hybrid. So it's a pleasure for us to be a part of this work, to talk about what we're trying to do both in and for St. Louis. We've got 3 startups to work with you, to talk with you here today. My role in innovation and commercialization emphasizes the tension between innovation, which is sort of this broad, inclusive way of thinking out, and the commercialization, which is on that natural path of focusing to see how we move things from patents to patients and from the laboratory to life. So I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm excited to introduce you to Lan Yang, who is a professor in the McKelvey School, the Skinner Professor in the McKelvey School, and the founder and Chief Technology Officer of DeepSight. We'll also have with us Matt Cooper and Guy Jenin, who we'll talk about more in just a moment. So Lan, I'll turn it over to you to talk to us about your company, and more importantly, why St. Louis, and what are you expecting that your company will add to this really great and rich culture that we have in this community? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Dedrick. Thanks, a great introduction, opening remarks. And first of all, I want to thank the invitation from Christine to give me a chance to introduce our company to you and tell you why St. Louis is unique to us. So our company, so next slide. Our company was founded 2 years ago with 3 co-founders, Nadia, Anand, and myself. Anand and Nadia, they have a lot of years of industry experience, very helpful in this process. And also it's worth noting, actually, to turn something from lab and bring that to life, to have true impact to the world, it takes effort, it takes knowledge. And for me, I benefit enormously from WashU. The one key reason is why this is in St. Louis. This technology was put out from the lab by our WashU alumni, Gaurav Garg. He was introduced to me in 2013. Knowing me for many years, he has been giving me the advice, the kind of right training to form the mindset to develop technology, growing out of fundamental science. So everything happens naturally following his guidance. And we formed the company. Now we have the office in Clayton downtown with the lease executed for a total of 6,000 square feet. Currently we have 3,000 square feet with extra 3,000 square feet under renovation. And currently we have 12 employees, with 3 more will join us within half a year. And we have 16 new positions, which open to people with experts in all aspects of engineering and science and finance, just to name a few. So the mission of our technology is to transform diagnostic medical imaging with the goal to improve and expand the range of diagnostic medical ultrasound to benefit public health and well-being. So how can we do that? Ultrasound has been there for many years. What we are doing now is to introduce a disruptive technology in both hardware and software. And to do that is definitely not a trivial job. So we need a lot of support. For example, we need talents. We need talents. We need a funding source to support this kind of growth. And to accomplish that, I want to mention what is shown here. Till now, it has been two and a half years since the company was formed. We have raised $30 million, including $25 million for a round, which is just closed a month ago. So the impact for us to bring to St. Louis area, nationwide and worldwide, I would say, is to bring advanced medical technology. And in addition to that, with the presence in St. Louis, we believe we will help to grow nanofabrication capabilities in St. Louis, because as I mentioned here, an important part of our company is hardware innovation. To do that, we do have some process engineer working in a workshop and also a clean room to develop a new process and a recipe to make advanced electronic and optical and mechanical components. And to do that, we create a lot of job opportunities, hopefully attract talents from different world, including local. And with the location of company in downtown Clayton, it's pretty convenient because the metro station is just a few minutes walking distance from our office. It's really connect our office to many areas in St. Louis. And as shown here, we need talents in all aspects of fields. For example, electrical engineer, software engineering, material science, just to name a few. So in addition to engineering side, because it's a tech company, right? We also need some softer skill. For example, we need people who is good at marketing, project manage, and also even sales in a few years. So with so much things going on in the company, I do want to mention the success of our company is built on the benefits and support we have received from WashU and St. Louis. So the first and most important reason we are in St. Louis and the benefit we have received from here is strong support from WashU. First, our initial technology is licensed from the McKelvin School of Engineering at WashU. And in this process, I do want to mention the strong support we have received from Dean Aaron Bobick. And also specifically, I want to mention the enormous support from Paul Carter, who is a business development director, and Assistant Vice Chancellor Nicole. They have been really guide us through a lot of steps, talk about the agreement and setting things up for us. Like Dean Aaron Bobick, for example, help us to set agreement. So initially we can use the facility and also some equipment at WashU to get things started. That is very important for us. And also, as I mentioned here, in addition to those resource support, we also get the initial funding, the seed fund from WIN VC, which is funded by our WashU alumni, Gaurav Garg. So the second reason we benefit from being St. Louis is because the source of innovation. For example, several key engineers in our company are actually WashU graduates. They are they're the key actually to push things forward. So in the past 2 years, we have finished proof concept. Basically, we collect a very promising and impressive imaging that shows a superior imaging contrast compared to conventional imaging collected from existing existing ultrasound system. And in addition to that, looking at the future, because the impact and application of technologies for medicine, right? So you can imagine with the largest medical scientist MD and PhD program in WashU, we definitely will benefit a lot for having those talents that are growing out from WashU. And I also want to mention WashU have actually a large number of interdisciplinary program that is very helpful for us, which because we need all kinds of talents down the road. And also, I also want to mention, actually last year, WashU is among the top 50 universities worldwide was granted US patents in 2020. And that is because of hard work, not only the innovation that is done on campus, but also, the hard work, the help with support we got at OTM. So that's second benefit. And for the third reason, for St. Louis, it is because of the full life cycle of life science innovation. Again, the mission of our company is for healthcare. So being here with one of the best medical school, that is very helpful. And in addition to that, the multiple university, in addition to WashU, the SLU and UMSO, they constantly generate talents and working force for a company and startup like us. And also it's worth mention the Mallinckrodt Institute of Radiology is ranked at top fifth in radiology in the United States. Why is it important? Because they provide a diagnostic and therapeutic patient care service that aligns perfectly with our application. So we expect down the road, once we have our first products ready to use, we will team up and work with the physicians to validate the application, the impact of our technology. And I also want to mention, with a service provider like BGC Healthcare and Bayer, those company in town, those will be a great partner for us to grow something for human well-being. And in addition to those support, I also want to mention another exciting facts. So in 2019, actually, St. Louis is ranked as top 10 rising city for startups. So in that report, they talk about those factors, for example, for St. Louis to attract talents and startups or global investors to come to St. Louis to grow the business. And as you can see here, why is that? In addition to continuous growth in economy, there's some other reason. For example, good living condition with a moderate cost of living. That is definitely one advantage of St. Louis. For example, the Clayton, Brentwood, and Richmond High, just to name a few, they rank high in the best places to live in America. And also we have a lot of places like a Forest Park, Botanic Garden. They're definitely great for families. And so it's good for long-term development if you think about career development for everyone. And in addition to that, cost matters. So here, the moderate land cost for office is also important in addition to expenditure for personal life, but also for office. That is why we can afford to expand quickly in 2 years to 6,000 square feet and set up office in Clayton downtown, a very good area for us to grow the business. So the very last reason, in addition to all the support, it is because of ecosystem. St. Louis has a really unique startup spectrum. Actually, it's not something really new. Because if you think about many years ago, for example, in the 1909 World Fair organized in St. Louis, within this 9 months of opening of this World Fair, over 20 million people came to St. Louis to visit. And there are many technology and history and art demonstration in the World Fair. And if St. Louis truly have history, be the center of trade and manufacture. Now I think it's more like rebooming the great things that has happened in St. Louis in the past. And as you can see here, the spectrum is really broad in St. Louis, from medical health to agriculture and pharmaceutical application, and currently leverage on the modern technology, the digital healthcare. They're all supported by the ecosystem. And it just happens, the mission of DeepSight aligns so well with this big picture. So there are a lot of, with limited time, I can only mention this many reasons, but there are many others, I guess, will be reviewed by other participants of today's events. And before close, I want to mention one more thing. Being here for us, for being here in St. Louis, it's not just about only taking. And for us, fulfill our accomplishment we want to give. Truly, you know, this technology grew from WashU in St. Louis. We have been getting a lot of support from being here. I think it's time for us to think about, even though we haven't hit a big success yet, but now, any moment, we wanted to contribute, to return, to create education, training, and job opportunities for our community, the community we love, because we benefit so much. We want to return the favor. So anytime, if there's anything we can help, just let us know. We'll be there.
Thank you very much, Lon. I really appreciate that. I mean, one of the great things about these conversations is that we get to showcase our technologies and showcase the great skill of everyone here who carries the title of both professor and entrepreneur and founder. And that is part and parcel to what is special about St. Louis. Yes. We get to highlight the special sauce. Lon talked about the World's Fair and nothing impossible really was the theme there. So we're going to keep with this nothing impossible theme as we move on to Woojin and Professor Matthew Cooper, who is the co-founder and chief scientific officer, in addition to being an assistant professor of medicine at Washington University in St. Louis. Matt?
Great, thank you very much for that kind introduction, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to, give something back to OTM for the hard work that you guys did in helping us set Woojin up in the beginning. So thank you. If we can go to the next slide, I'll give an overview of Woojin. Our goal at Woojin is to develop safe and effective off-the-shelf cellular therapies for the treatment of hematological and solid cancers. And what does this mean? So we take cells from healthy donors. Those cells are then expanded and modified to increase their activity, their anti-tumor activity. And then those cells are cryopreserved and stored in liquid nitrogen, ready for infusion into patients at the time that they're needed. And it's really this preparation of these cells in advance and storing those cells that really gives them their off-the-shelf nature. So they're ready when the patients need them. And because these cells are taken from healthy donors and expanded, that allows us to treat multiple patients from a single healthy donor during the manufacturing process. And so we have two key programs. We have our WooNK program that was licensed out of the lab of Todd Feniger and based on the work with Melissa Barron-Elliott. And this is a memory NK program that has enhanced anti-tumor activity and persistence and offers several advantages relative to other natural killer cell technologies. And we plan to use this platform to treat AML as well as solid tumors. The second program that we have is our WooCart program. This was developed by myself in the lab of John DePercio at WashU. And it is a CRISPR-Cas9 gene-edited T cell that has been engineered to retarget these T cells to target the cancer. And in this case, we're targeting T cell cancers, which are an absolutely devastating disease with very little therapeutic options. So hopefully with our WooCart 007 platform, we'll be able to really offer some benefit to the patients. Woojin was founded in 2018 with seed funding from a local venture capitalist. And to date, we've grown substantially. We've now got over 200 million invested into Woojin. We're headquartered in St. Louis, but we do have a satellite site in San Diego. And we are rapidly growing. We have now over 60 full-time employees. And it's been a whirlwind to grow this quickly. It really is amazing to see how we've grown. And so St. Louis, as you know, offers world-class academic institutions. The core technology was licensed from Washington University. And without Washington University, Woojin wouldn't exist. We have, being located in St. Louis, that means that we can maintain a very strong relationship with our co-founders that have been instrumental in developing Woojin and allowing it to progress. And the clinical expertise offered by the med school has just been, fundamental in allowing us to develop our programs and push them towards the clinic. And of course, the talent acquisition, the excellent graduates that come out of WashU and from SLU has been, incredibly important in allowing us to grow at the rate with the quality key talent that we need, and offering those graduates the opportunity to go into biotech, but also stay in St. Louis. A lot of people don't want to leave St. Louis and they feel like they have no other option but to go to the coasts. And I think that's one thing that Woojin offers, is that opportunity to keep that key talent where they were trained. And for the WUCAT 007 program, we anticipate our first in human clinical trials to take place at WashU very, very soon. And that's going to be really exciting to take something that I invented in the lab and to spin out a company, and then to give something back to WashU and the patients at WashU by being able to treat patients with a product that we've developed is, it's an absolute career highlight for me. I don't think it gets much better than that. The community here is phenomenal. There's a huge amount of experience and support, and this largely comes from the Cortex innovation community, from BioSTL and BioGenerator. There's a lot of access to capital and investors. And if you have a startup idea, the labs here are phenomenal. You can get very economical pricing to start a company and have access to fully equipped labs and really kind of push your program forwards. There's also a lot of support around funding and grant writing, and importantly, entrepreneurial training. And so coming from academia, this is something that I really had no idea about, and the services here have been phenomenal in helping train me towards that pathway. And that comes in the form of pitch deck design, messaging, PR, and importantly, recruitment solutions as well. If we can go to the next slide. And so St. Louis offers a huge potential. Anybody that has been in this, in St. Louis for the last 10 years has witnessed with their own eyes how much the Cortex district has really grown and evolved over that period of time. And it's really phenomenal to see how much that has developed. St. Louis offers a phenomenal value. It's a great biotech hub. And, it shows no signs of slowing down. There's absolutely great long-term prospects, and Woojin has no inclination to leave St. Louis just because it's the right place for us. And I touched on this earlier, but the talent in St. Louis is fantastic. And I think that it's really great that at Woojin, we can keep the great St. Louis talent in St. Louis. And I think that's a great benefit to all of us and to the community. And in addition to that, we have the ability to recruit talent from the coast. And so several of our employees have come to Woojin from the coast. The cost of living in the coast has priced them out of the market, and St. Louis is a very attractive opportunity to come back and live a very cost-effective life and good quality of life. And as I say, Woojin will have St. Louis as its home for a long time to come. And I would, on a last note, I would encourage anybody that is working in the labs at WashU that has an idea that they think can be patented to reach out to OTM and to go through the process. Because if you don't put a patent on an idea and you don't commercialize it, the likelihood is, it won't actually get to help patients in the long run. So I'd really recommend that. I know that the WUCAT program that I developed definitely wouldn't be helping patients if we didn't commercialize it or try and commercialize it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. The conversation about the impact and the importance of actually protecting and moving these things to practice, getting them out of the lab, has kind of been going on in the chat. Your initial technology has an impact on the lives of at least one of the people in the audience, Michelle. And so we discuss the importance of moving from patents to patients and lab to life, and really appreciate the work that you're doing in that regard.
Thank you.
You know, next up for our conversations is Professor Guy Jenin. Guy is a co-founder and chief technology officer at the Harold and Kathleen Falk Professor of Mechanical Engineering at the McKelvey School of Engineering. The company is Kaylee Vascular. Guy?
Well, thanks so much for having me here. On behalf of Kaylee Vascular, we are all very pleased to be in St. Louis and part of this event today. And Kristen has arranged for us so you have even more slides. There's one right there. And we can move on to the next one because we've already covered that we're from Kaylee Vascular. So I want to tell a little bit about the problem that we're interested in at Kaylee Vascular. The problem is that patients on the operating table die at a rate of about 50% when they're treated for pulmonary embolisms. This is a big blood clot that gets shot up to the lung. And then where does that come from? It comes from blood clots and deep vein thrombosis. Again, it comes from accumulations of stuff that you don't want inside your blood vessels. If it makes it into the pulmonary artery, death almost always ensues. Now, we have on the next slide, which Kristen can read twice once, thank you, Kristen. The next slide, we have a bio-inspired design. So one of the centers at Washington University that Dedrick's been very supportive of is the Center for Innovation in Neuroscience and Technology. And another one that he helped us actually acquire, and he's a co-director of, on the board of directors of, is the National Science Foundation Center for Innovation in Neuroscience and Technology. And this, and so one thing we do in these centers, we look at how plants and how successful organisms in nature solve some of the problems that we face in the operating room. And this slide was supposed to be animated, but isn't animated on Kristen's computer. Sorry, Kristen. This shows basically what we have invented is a series of technologies that we called Sequester Technologies. We do what a plant does when a plant gets wounded. It seals off the area where the problem occurs. It engages mechanical means to get what it doesn't need out. And then it also simultaneously uses chemicals and then washes things clean. So we have, this is a new technology. It's worked nearly 100% in our animal trials, and we're commercializing it here in St. Louis. And as you'll see on the next slide, we're thrilled to be here in St. Louis. As you might see on the next slide when Kristen changes the slide, we are thrilled to be here in St. Louis. So what does it mean to be here in St. Louis? Well, if you start with this map on the right-hand side here, you can't quite see all the details, but St. Louis is world leading in several regards. An unfortunate regard is that if this animation were working on this map here, you'd see that as America went from kind of white and blue to dark red in this obesity map, St. Louis was actually leading the charge. America's catching up with us, but St. Louis is leading the charge. And as a consequence, St. Louis was the capital for pulmonary embolism death and for deep vein thrombosis. An obese population is where America's heading, and we were able to seize, we were able to be the first at the Washington University School of Medicine to really see that there's a deep need to be able to solve this growing problem in America. And so that motivated us to develop this technology. And then we benefit greatly from being here in St. Louis. So, and we try to benefit St. Louis as well. So as many others have said, we're here to create tech jobs and manufacturing jobs, sales jobs. We're here, there's highly trained talent in St. Louis. And if you take a look at this, even at graduation, these WashU grads don't take the noses out of the books. It's incredible. It's an outstanding talent here. And moving on to the next slide, all kinds of benefit that we have gained from St. Louis. We've also been the beneficiaries of BioSTL and BioGenerator, the investment arm of BioSTL. We have great space down in the Cortex district. We've benefited from St. Louis in a way that I think, we benefited from Washington University's framework for benefiting St. Louis. We have been such beneficiaries of Dedrick's entire thrust at the university, of the Coles framework, and then Craig Weilbarker's leadership in helping us move from a real nascent idea to something that's just on the cusp of truly impacting surgical practice. And then moving ahead to the next slide, we really benefit by being here in St. Louis from access to world-class research facilities at WashU, world-class consultants. We have diversity in the workplace, highly trained workforce. So we, on the last slide at Cayley Vascular, are very pleased to be doing what we can to benefit St. Louis. We're in St. Louis for St. Louis, and we certainly have benefited from the unique environment that many of the people on this call have helped create. Thank you so much for allowing us to say a few words about Cayley Vascular, and thank you to St. Louis for all the support you've given our company.
Fantastic. I want to thank you very much, Guy. I appreciate the energy and the enthusiasm around the work and what we're doing here in St. Louis. There are a lot of really interesting differences and commonalities in the conversation that came up here, and I want to focus in on a couple of them. Both Lon had to leave, so Lon has actually left her board meeting to come and present here. This is a dedication that you have, but had to slip out to go back. But we've hopefully Matt and Guy are able to answer a few questions for us. I want to open up the floor to any questions that might exist in the audience, but I want to prime you both to say, what for you was the magic moment, right? If there were one. I mean, at some point you're working on your work and research, Matt and Guy, and something tells you there's something more there, right? Not just a discovery in advance, but there's something that says this could be big. This could save lives. This could. And so could you help us to figure out what was that moment that said, I need to do something here that is moving from lab to life, right?
I'm happy to share something. So Dedrick, as you know, we have the Center for Innovation in Neuroscience and Technology, and we also have this National Science Foundation Science and Technology Center that helped us land at the university and in St. Louis. So for us, it really went the other way around. For us, we realized that people are dying on the operating table, and St. Louis in unbelievable numbers. And we actually gathered people at the Center for Innovation in Neuroscience and Technology, where we've been a participant and a great supporter for years. And really, research out of the Center for Innovation in Neuroscience and Technology, where we realized that plants, house plants, stalks of plants. You knock over a stalk of a plant, it has the exact same problem that we do. And we realized that we could turn what a plant does into a surgical device, and bring it to and make a system that would work. But that's only the beginning of it. It's really only the beginning of it, because this happens at every university. People come up with ideas all the time. We here in St. Louis have a unique environment, and so first at Washington University, the ability to then just give Craig a call and ask, what do we do with this? Is this going to work? Often he says, no, this isn't going to go work. Do something else. But then when it's a good idea, he's pushed us. He pushes us and gives us access to resources, access to the environment of St. Louis, and really the point we realize that you can make a difference isn't when you come up with this idea. It's when you have the resources in front of you, and you have a place like the Washington University OTM and St. Louis as a whole supporting you in the effort. Yeah. That's my short answer.
That's your short answer. So Matt, I'm coming to you with the same question. I've got a follow-up question for you, but I got one for you, Guy. Basically, you said you started with the problem and you sort of figure out what the solution was. What for the Hydra catheter? Hydra, can you explain to me where that comes from?
Yes. So there's a single-celled organism called the Hydra. There's also a mythical beast called the Hydra, and both of them are relevant. So the idea is that in a plant, the plant sequesters the region in which therapy is needed, and then comes through with multiple heads in sequence. So the idea is that you pull out one head, and then that head does this damage on the clot, and then the next series comes through. So multiple heads and multiple attacks, multiple angles, all from the same sequestered region.
Thank you very much. Matt, I'm going to come to you and say, so same, that sort of, what was that spark of there's something here, we can move this from lab to life. And then I've got a follow-up question with you about life as a CTO.
Yeah, so I was in a lab meeting with John DePercio, and he had a patient. He had just come from the clinic, and he had a patient that he really had no therapeutic option for, and that really upset John, that he could do nothing for this relatively young patient. And so I went into the lab and kind of thought about different ideas of how to be able to treat this kind of cancer. And putting those ideas together, it just seemed very natural in the development of that process, and the data just kind of drove that entire program forward. So I think it was very kind of data driven, and then knowing that you have developed something that you could potentially benefit patients, then you've really got to get that out to the world and allow it to benefit patients. It's not going to benefit patients if it's cooped up in the lab in the brains of some academics, right? So that was the moment for me. But I really think that the true moment will be when we put this therapy into the arm of the first patient, and that's going to be the truly rewarding moment where we know that we actually have something that's really going to change lives. And so I'm still awaiting that moment. It should happen very soon, but I can't wait for that.
So the inspiration is kind of that there's something has to happen here. We're losing lives, and it has a huge impact not only on the families but on those who are caring for these families as well.
Absolutely, and I get emails all the time from families of patients asking when this therapy is going to be available, and there's nothing more motivating than seeing pictures of young children that are really sick, and you have the ability to be able to change their lives.
Yeah. So do something that matters. And
exactly.
A question that's in the chat for you, Matt, is also, how is life? This is from Lena Prabhu of OTM. Hi, Lena. Matt, how is life as a CTO in Woojin compared with your experiences as a WashU faculty member? Can you walk us through your journey and provide guidance to other faculty entrepreneurs about that journey?
Yeah, I could talk about this all day. It's very, very different, and both paths are very exciting. So, I was kind of in the middle for a while. Do I go the academic route? Do I go all in on biotech? And I just saw the potential that Woojin had, and I wanted to be part of that story. I didn't want to just hand off that idea to a group of people to push that idea forward. So I wanted to be very much part of that story and guide that story forwards. And it is a difficult decision to make that leap from what everyone on here who is in academia is very familiar with, and leap outside that comfort zone. I would say biotech is such a fast-paced and exciting entity. It's just phenomenal what you can achieve, and the resources behind that can really help you push things forwards very, very quickly. And to some extent, academia in comparison can seem somewhat a little slow in terms of having to get funding. Even if it's a great idea, you're at the whim of the funding bodies, whether they agree with you that it's a good idea or not. And that can be very, very tough. That's not to say biotech isn't difficult like that. You still have to get money. You just get it a very different way. But the whole journey is very exciting, and I would encourage people to kind of get involved in biotech and to really push those ideas forwards. I don't know if that really answers your question, Lena, but I'd be happy to have a call with you afterwards and talk through my personal experience.
Yeah. Well, I think it does sort of get at that question. The major goal is to help people understand you as the exemplar on why do you do this? Because we often get people that say, look, I'm not gonna raise my hand. I'm gonna keep my head down, and I'm gonna focus on this stuff. And maybe when I get to this point, you pick your favorite point. I get that next grant, I get to the tenure, I get whatever it is, then I'll raise my head up and I'll engage. And maybe the environment that says this is not something that we do here. And there's a differential from you being in the classroom or the lab or the clinic and you being the Chief Scientific Officer. So you want to get some insights into that. Yeah. So Guy, I'm going to turn to you with a question, and then I'm going to go back to some questions that are coming in from the chat. You know, this is not your first bite at the apple. You've been entrepreneurial in a number of different senses. What keeps you going back to the venture markets and translating your ideas over? And tell us about maybe the first one that sort of said, "Hey, maybe I'll try this." Does that make sense?
So the very first time,
Yeah.
Actually, I could tell you what discouraged me initially. So
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Early on, we had when I was an assistant professor, my colleague Eric Luthart and I, Dedrick and I have a mutual friend named Eric Luthart, highly entrepreneurial. We had a set of 3 ideas that we wanted to start a company with. And we were able to land investors here in St. Louis, and we found a CEO. We were ready to get going, but we weren't able to get the IP out of the university. It was a disaster, and so we ended up being a total failure. We closed down the company, and it was really discouraging. I phoned around to friends at other places. And the Stanford and Cambridge, Massachusetts, are very well known for having a strong entrepreneurial environment. But it turns out things are just as bad.
Guys sort of locking up on us there. How we're gonna let your buffering come together, and I'm eager to hear more about the what happened in that first startup. I'm going to turn to a version of a question that I have as a follow-up for Guy for you, Matt, and that is Taesuk says he is eager and interested to do work in the space. He's got some meetings scheduled, but he sometimes has encountered a pushback from perhaps those in other positions of leadership around the university. Did you experience any friction of your own in sort of trying to move your idea forward? And if you did, how do you handle that?
I think generally it was very well supported across the university. I didn't get a huge amount of pushback. I would say that if you think it's a great idea, that you should go for it and keep pushing and be persistent and try and bring your idea to the forefront. I think that's crucial. I think it boils down to whether you can get that initial seed funding, because once you get that, I think things will naturally progress from there, and you can get more supporting data and put everything in place to really push that company forwards.
That's great. Thank you. One of the things that Guy was saying in his comments and about his first company was the difficulty in getting the technology out. And what you've heard in the conversations with both Lon and Matt and Guy so far has not been that. I will say largely because we have a very different team and a very focused team now who believe in quality service. They understand speed of trying to execute as rapidly as one can, and no faster, because the deal has to go the pace of the deal. But we understand the importance of the work of getting this out and making sure that we are available and tuned into not only the needs of the faculty member or the needs of the funders, but the needs and the timing and the rightness of the deal. And so the organization that you may have seen years ago is a different organization than you have now. And I'm really proud of this tech transfer team here at Washington University, and I think it'll hold its own against any around the country. If you find otherwise, let me know, because I know that Nicole will be all on top of it. Right? So I'm gonna give the opportunity for Matt. You're our lone holdout here. Any closing remarks, last bits of wisdom that you have before we go to the final slide or two and wrap up?
No, I just that if you have an idea, try and get some IP around it. Go to OTM. As I say, you're not going to be able to take that idea and really change lives unless you can help get it commercialized. And that's how you really get these ideas out to help patients.
Thank you very much. There is one other question that's come up. And we'll talk about this broadly. So this is, how do you all negotiate the commercialization for ideas? Actually, so this is a conversation that we'll have offline. Let's go to the last slide, and I want to sort of wrap up here. You know, one of the challenges in the work of sort of starting to spawn new startups is ensuring that people have the existence proof, knowing that it can be done here. And the great thing is that if you start to see that it can be done here, call it whatever force you want to say, jealousy, whatever it is. It's sort of, you know, I can say, well, Matt's no smarter than I am. If he can do it, then I can do it too. Matt probably is smarter than I am, so I won't say that. But there is something to say that I can see it happening, and I can see a path. The path that Matt laid out, or that Lon or that Guy laid out, may not be the exact path for you, but there exists a path through to translation, and there exist Sherpas along the way, people that are willing to help you move these ideas forward and help to guide you in writing your grant proposals, writing your SBIR proposals, and helping to connect with funders and helping to shape you and move you through to the translation and start of your new company. And so that existence proof is part and parcel of what we're trying to do here in opening up our showcase and as a part of St. Louis Startup Week. You'll see here the slide for the wall of fame. You know, years ago, this started off as just kind of this really nicely done. When we opened the space in 4240, the new tech transfer space, there was a chalk version of this wall done that pretty quickly got out of date, as chalk boards might get. And the team in OTM, Kristen and Lena and Nicole, said it's time to update the wall. And I guess there are a couple ways you can do that. You can erase the chalk and actually put some more chalk letters on there. But then you start to realize that from the time that we did this work to the time that we were in now, the number of companies had grown, and that's a good situation to have. So the wall has grown, and we encourage you all to visit the WashU startup wall at 4240 Duncan in the Office of Technology Management, where it's on display many of the colleagues of Matt and Lon and Guy who have translated technologies out and proudly put their monikers up on the wall. It really is a sort of, in some ways, a timeline or a testament to, at the very least, an advertisement for what it is to translate technologies out. So I thank you immensely for your time and attention. This is the last call for any questions. I'll say here, I talked to you at the beginning about the role that we are trying to double down on here at Washington University. I also mentioned that this notion of attention between innovation and commercialization, and how one starts something and how you protect the outcomes of that work. And I think the goal that I will have to share with all of you is that I hope that we end up being one of the best places to come and learn and grow together. I hope it's one of the best places to translate technology. Is the easiest place to work. When I first moved here 8 years ago, someone asked me why I was moving from Boston to St. Louis. And the question was actually, what's happening in St. Louis? And my response was something special. And I actually think that response is an answer that I would still give today, that there are special people, there's special circumstances and special situations and assets that are present in this environment that are different than you might find in any other place. It's hard to say that you have enough people who are close enough together that are really bright and smart and like a good quality of life, can find funds on a good day, but have the support of a team like we find in tech transfer to move forward an idea. And when you can find those things, and you can have a little bit of fun doing it, we have the potential to do tons more. So I'm looking forward to more eyes being on the center of the country as we take the three technologies you've heard and grow DeepSight, Woojin, and Vascular, and then all the ones that you will see when you come to 4240 Duncan and visit the wall. Kristen, did I miss anything?
Only that we're more than happy to redo that wall if we run out of space and think of a different way to do it.
You know what?
Yeah.
So Kristen, and I see Nicole is on. I will tell you that here's the challenge that I issue to you guys. I challenge you to run out of space on the wall. I challenge you. We will accommodate. We will make sure that we accommodate with space. But you've done it before. You got to the point where you said there's no room on the wall. And we grew not to one wall, but to 2 or 3 now. But I think there's still some other vacant space. There's some windows we can plaster over. There's lots more companies to be developed out of Washington University, and the best is yet to come. So that 1904 World's Fair that we talked about at the beginning, the theme there was nothing impossible. And if you were a member of my intro to entrepreneurship class any semester, you would hear me say that that's a theme that I hope that we all embrace as St. Louisans. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate you participating. Hopefully you've had and will continue to have a really good St. Louis Startup Week. And at the very least, continue to watch us. This is a part of a number of different engagements we'll have with founders. We will continue to show the existence proofs. And we'll continue to celebrate our inventors and the companies that come out of Washington University. The best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you.